Now, Rory McIlroy is undoubtedly one of the best golfers of our generation, and while most of us can't swing the driver at 128 miles an hour or win 6 DP World Tour Order of Merit titles, there are some things that we absolutely can copy from what Rory McIlroy does and incorporate into our own games. So in this video, I'm joined by Trump Turnberry head pro Alistair Kyle. We're going to unpack some of the things that Rory McIlroy does that we can too, and make sure you stick around for number 4. You'll be kicking yourself that you haven't been doing it up until now. So Alistair, what's the first thing that Rory McIlroy does that amateur golfers should definitely copy and learn from?
So Rory, obviously being a really good driver of the ball, one thing that's quite noticeable about Rory's setup is when he's addressing the ball, his body is behind the golf ball and he's got a nice V shape with his arms here, and the right shoulder is lower than the left. So this enables Rory to hit upward on the golf ball, and typically he can hit up on it like 6 or 7 degrees, which is quite uncommon for an amateur golfer. But a lot of amateurs are down on the ball 2, 3, 4 degrees, sometimes even more, which is killing their distance. So if they can get even slightly closer to 0 as a number on a launch monitor, that's going to enable them to hit the ball quite a bit further.
So what do you see in amateurs in the way they set up to the ball with driver that encourages that higher spin number? How do they set up to the ball?
So a lot of times with driver, people's ball would be quite central. So that would mean that their sternum head is in line with the ball. So by shifting the ball to more appropriately up towards the left heel, that's going to get your body behind the ball. Even though if people say they do have the correct ball position or appropriate ball position for them, some people, their shoulders are still very level. So there's no shoulder that's lower, the right shoulder isn't lower than the left. So if they're more in this sort of position, that's probably going to encourage the club to work downward into the ball, which is going to potentially make the ball spin too much and lose a lot of distance.
Yeah, and 2 other things I've noticed with Rory, he definitely tees the ball a lot higher than most amateur golfers would tee it. Obviously that's going to encourage more of an upward hit, is that correct?
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
And also you notice when he's on the tee sort of wiggling around, he does sort of tend to just wiggle this sort of alignment of his shoulders a little bit to encourage that draw. What's he doing there and how does that help him?
Yeah, so obviously he's a drawer of the golf ball, so the ball is going to be moving right to left, so he needs to be aiming more on the right side of the fairway to allow for that curve. So yeah, you can see him, he's sometimes can be a little bit fidgety, but that's just him getting comfortable, and he's always kind of pushing this left shoulder forward, which is angling his shoulders more to the right.
That's going to help him swing out to the right and encourage that draw.
Keep his path a little bit more out to the right, and then if he can match up his club face just inside that, he'll get that nice draw shape. So for Rory McIlroy, in years gone by, his wedge game was a bit of an Achilles heel. His approach to it was generally he would always hit full shots, so whether that's a 60 degree, 56, 52, he's generally hitting it flat out 100%. Then would struggle sometimes if the greens were soft and fast, the ball would spin too much. If it was windy, he would struggle to control the flight of it. There'd be too much spin on the ball and he would ultimately lose control of where that ball's going to end up. See that quite a lot with amateurs as well. They don't really know how to take distance off of a shot. So a good way to practice it is, say for example, your pitching wedge goes 120 yards, take an 8 iron, see if you can get that to go 120 yards. And that'll allow you to develop the feeling and become comfortable with hitting shots that aren't full. So I'm going to hit a couple shots here with my 52 degree. So normally for me, this club would go about 120 yards carry, and I would occasionally hit it flat out if maybe the pin position meant that I had to get the ball stopping quicker, or say it was a flat cam day and I knew how far I had to carry it. I know how far the full shot goes. So I'll go ahead and hit one here. And then if I'm trying to take off some speed now, a lot of amateurs I'll see will generally have the same setup, try and swing slower or shorter, which can be quite difficult to do. So a nice way to do it is change your setup. So this would be my normal setup. So then when I'm trying to take some distance off, I'm going to bring my stance in a little bit narrower. So that's going to reduce the club speed. And then I'm going to go about an inch down the grip. That's making the golf club shorter, so I'm not going to have as much club speed. So this is going to take a bit of distance off. It's also going to reduce the spin, should come out a little bit lower. So then I'm going to be more in control of the ball flight. So let's hit one here. So as you can see from the numbers, the setup adjustments that I made took a little bit of distance off the shot. It's reduced the spin and ultimately allows me to be a bit more in control of the ball flight.
Right, so Alistair, now we're going to talk about Rory's chipping, and everyone, I'm pretty sure, will remember Rory's amazing chip shot that he hit at the Ryder Cup in Rome, where sort of checked up nicely by the pin. I think it was the 17th hole. He's widely regarded as a pretty good chipper of the golf ball.
Yep.
What does he do in his technique that amateur golfers watching this video can copy easily, that was going to have a pretty immediate impact on their results around the green?
I see it quite a lot in lessons where a golfer's hitting just a 10 or 15 yard chip shot, but they're setting up as if they're about to hit a drive almost, where their stance is very wide. So there's no need to do that for a small chip shot. So the way I like to think of it is, if you're hitting a small shot, have a smaller setup. So the first point would be to have, if it's just a very simple small chip shot, have your feet about one club head distance apart. That's really it for setup wise. And one more thing is that Rory's always staying quite centred on top of the ball. His weight's fairly even. He's slightly favouring his left side on these short chip shots. And throughout the shot, he's keeping it there. So there's no weight shifts to the right. He's leaning slightly left, and he's just keeping it there throughout the duration of the shot. So he's got this nice Y shape with his arms and his shoulders, and the only real thing he's thinking about is trying to rock his shoulders and maintain the same arm position. So a little bit like that. So just a rock of the shoulders. A lot of golfers I see, the structure of the arms will change throughout the shot. So backswing, the arms can separate a little bit. And what that does is it takes the club further away from the ground. So from there, the golfer then has to try and get the club back to the ground, and it can mean that the club's going to hit the ground in a different place on different shots. Similarly, on the way through, a lot of golfers are trying to get the ball higher up in the air for a chip shot, and same thing, the arms will start to separate and the club's coming further away from the ground, which makes it harder to hit a decent chip shot, decent contact with the ground. Recently in the media, Rory was talking about what he's been doing recently, practicing, and he said that he basically locked himself away for 3 weeks and just hit shots into a net without any feedback, because he was trying to work on his swing, but if he was seeing the result of the ball flight, he maybe wouldn't have worked on the swing quite the same way. So I see it quite often teaching golfers that we're trying to make a change to their swing to improve their ball flight, and they'll do it fine in the lesson, and then as soon as they go away to practice, they're reacting to the ball flight. So golfers are very instinctive, where they don't really know that they're making changes, but they are reacting to the flight of the ball that they see. So whether that's changing their club face or their club path or how much they're hitting down in the ball, they will be making changes because of the flight that they're seeing. So it's probably not a bad idea sometimes if you are working on your swing. So you've been for a lesson, you're working on the right things. So let's hit one into the net here. Okay, so there you have it. So I've got no idea where that ball went, but that allows me to continue to work on what I'm trying to work on at the moment. So I'm trying to work on top of my backswing, trying to feel like my weight's a little bit more left, and I'm swinging a little bit longer. Not getting the feedback of that allows me to continue to work on that. I would do that until the motion that I'm trying to create, the feeling that I'm trying to create in my swing feels a bit more normal. Then it's probably time to go out onto the range and start to see where the ball's actually going. So yeah, even doing a little, you could alternate sometimes, maybe do one session where you're not looking at the outcome of the shot, and then the next time go and see where the ball's going, and then come back inside without the feedback to do some more without knowing where the ball's going to go. Something else we can learn from Rory McIlroy is learning from his pre-shot routine. So Rory has a pre-shot routine that's fairly consistent. He does certain things a certain way, and he does them all the time. So the first thing he does is he'll normally take a practice swing behind the ball, not quite a full swing, but all he's really trying to focus on there is having nice rhythm. So if he can carry that same rhythm into his full shot, then it's ultimately going to help him hit a better shot. Once he's done the practice swing, he'll be standing behind the ball and he's trying to visualize the shot that he's trying to play. So he's normally going to be visualizing a 5 to 10 yard draw. So he'll be standing here thinking, where's the ball going to start? Where's the ball going to finish? Picking quite a particular target, whether it's a tree in the distance, a bunker in the distance. So he's focusing in on that. Once he's done that, he'll then be thinking about his breathing. So especially if he's back nine of a major on a Sunday, tensions are high, heart rate's through the roof. If he can make a few deep breaths before he goes into the shot, it's going to give him more success with the shot, and he'll be able to handle the situation a bit better. The last thing I like about Rory's routine is that it's the same every time. So there is an element of consistency to it. So having a consistent routine that when he's under pressure, he can rely on. So that's something that he knows he can go through his routine, and he's set up for the shot the same way he would be, on the first hole of a major compared to the 72nd hole. He's able to handle those pressure situations because he's got a routine to rely on. So let's go and hit one. So another thing we can learn from Rory is his body language. So in the past, when he's been playing in majors and not been as successful as he wanted to, he hits a couple of bad shots, maybe misses a short putt. He looks quite dejected, looks quite upset, and you can see it. If you were to watch on TV and just tune into that hole, you can kind of tell how he's been playing. Where it's something he's definitely worked on, where he hits a bad shot, say loses a ball, 3 putts, and he's obviously not going to be happy about that, but he doesn't let that affect the rest of the round. So he'll try and maintain his posture, he'll try and stay upright when he's walking, he'll keep his shoulders back, and he'll try and keep his eyes above the flag. So that's going to hopefully allow him to get over mistakes quicker, try not to dwell on the past, and be able to move on and focus on the next shot he's got.
So Alistair, I'm back with you in this one, talking about Rory's gym routine and fitness routine. Now we know, if you look at him down the years, he was quite a sort of skinny guy, a lot of sort of loose body fat around different places. But if you look at him now, he's very built out, seems to have a lot of bulk in his legs and his upper body. So it's clearly he's been doing a lot of work in the gym. What can golfers take away from the way he's built his body in terms of his golf swing and generating power and speed? Yeah. What are the things they should be considering when it comes to trying to improve their body to help their golf?
Yeah, so Rory's approach to it, like most golfers, professional golfers, is that they'll be working on their full body. They're not just working on like golf-specific things. That term kind of gets thrown about a little bit, but definitely just working on his general body strength and then his power output. So be able to he'll be lifting heavy weights with squats, deadlifts, lunges, stuff like that, doing pull-ups. But then he's also got to transfer that strength into power. So he'll be jumping around a lot, throwing medicine balls as hard as he can, as far as he can, so that he's able to hit the ball further.
And another hallmark of Rory's career, I'd say, is the fact that he's managed to stay relatively injury-free.
Yeah.
Looking back on his career, he's had some minor lower back issues, but compared to most other sort of high-profile tour players, he's basically been injury-free throughout his career, which I assume is testament to the work he's done in the gym and obviously his swing as well. Definitely.
Yeah, you look at his world ranking over the years, it's not really, I don't know what the highest he's been in recent years, but it's probably not been outside the top 10. Since he came on the scene, but he's definitely prioritised his body. He knows that's the most important thing for him to be able to compete and ultimately make the money he does and hopefully win more majors.
Yeah. And what do you say to amateurs out there who maybe are sort of hesitant or reluctant to get in the gym and work on their body to improve their golf? Is it a genuine sort of avenue to lower scores?
Yeah, I'd say definitely. Something as simple as being able to not be as fatigued on the back nine. If you are generally more physically fit, you're able to play the 15th to the 18th in the same energy you had as the first few holes. And as soon as your physical energy dips, your mental energy is going to dip as well. So you'll start to make mental errors, decision-making errors if your body's feeling it. So yeah, definitely getting in the gym with the help of someone that knows what they're doing, get a program that's suited to that person can definitely make a difference to your golf.
So there you go, some solid advice there. I definitely struggled on the last few holes of my round, so perhaps it's time for me to get in the gym as well, just like Rory.
So with regards to putting, there's one thing that Rory does that everybody can add into their game. It's something that I actually do as well. So it's when you're putting, it's to help you get lined up on your target. So say within putting, there are three main skills. There's green reading, there's starting the ball on line, and then there's judging the speed. So this one's going to take care of the start line. So a lot of people use the line on the ball to get lined up at their target. I'm not a huge fan of that, like a lot of people. So what Rory does is he will pick an intermediate target somewhere in this sort of region. So I've got a little mark here on the green that I'm going to aim at. So I would be checking that as I'm going through my routine. I've read this putt as a straight putt, so now I'm trying to find something to aim at. So I've shut one eye, line up the shaft with the middle of the ball, and then up here I can see the middle of the hole. So then on that same line, I've got a little point here to aim at. So then all I need to do is I can aim my putter at that point, and then all I need to do is then try and get the ball rolling over that point, get the right speed, and it should go in. And that's it.